Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing this pen. This is the Majohn or Moonman P136. This is labelled as Moonman, but sold as Majohn. Majohn is the evolution of Moonman after a name change. So same thing, same pen. So I'm going to talk about the parts and features, do a writing sample, talk about some pros and cons. So starting at the top of the pen, we get a simple domed cap, silver clip, or silver band, which has the clip on it, and it's fairly stiff but usable. The cap swells to this center band, which is a single band and then a larger band with the engraving Moonman P136 on there. Little slight taper down to the end of the cap where the barrel continues along and tapers slightly to this second silver ring, and then we get the piston turning knob on the end, which is a plastic dome. So it is a piston filling pen, and that is a piston mechanism. I will not activate it, but you turn that knob and the piston runs up and down inside the barrel to draw up ink. The cap unscrews in one and a bit turns and reveals an interesting series of ink windows, which is good to let you know how much ink there is. You've then got some threads and then a short but sort of decent width section, and then this Moonman number 6-ish size nib. It is branded with Moonman and an M for medium, and then you get a pretty decent plastic feed on the back there. Now, the pen should post, but it doesn't quite hold on there. So I say this pen doesn't post. You can put it on there, but it is not going to stay. But it is a decent sized pen. It fits well in the hand. It's got a good length to it, so that shouldn't be too much of a worry for anyone. And that is the basics of the pen. Nice piston mechanism. I've got this in the grey. It comes in multiple different colours. I just have a lot of black pens of this shape. It's a very similar size and profile and, you know, design to a couple of other brands. So yeah, I got it in grey. It comes in a multitude of different colours, and it's actually pretty affordable. This pen retailed, well, I got it for 36 Australian dollars. You could probably get it either side of that and without too much worry, and it's available from websites like eBay and AliExpress and those kinds of places primarily. For the size comparison here, I've got it alongside a Lamy Safari and the Jinhao X159. This is another one of those similar sort of vaguely similar shape pens, but you can see it's a lot girthier there than the Moonman. And the Moonman is quite a decent length or size pen in general. It's probably about the same width or girth as the Safari, maybe a bit larger, but it is definitely a couple of millimeters longer. Uncapped, it is shorter than both the Lamy Safari and the Jinhao X159, but the nib, being around that number 6 sort of size, is much bigger than the Lamy's nib, but smaller than the Jinhao's number 8 size nib. As I said, the Moonman doesn't post securely, but when it is posted, it is in between the Lamy Safari and the Jinhao X159, but it just won't stay posted. What are the dimensions of the Moonman P136? Well, it is 147 millimeters when it is capped. It's 128 when it is uncapped, so it's an okay size. It's 164 in that posted but uselessly posted length. The section is 10.5 millimeters there in the middle, and the widest point on the cap is about 15 millimeters. The pen weighs 26.5 grams in all, 16 in the body and 10.5 in the cap. As I have said, the size of this pen in the hand, unposted the only way it can be, is perfectly fine. The balance is okay. It's a fairly light pen, but you know, it's not terribly small, so it feels okay in the hand. Let's do this writing sample now with the Moonman or Majohn P136. This has a steel medium nib, and the ink in this is Mont Blanc Toffee Brown. Mont Blanc chosen for a particular reason. Anyone that's familiar with the pen's design. Okay, so we have so in this writing sample, it's writing fairly well. It's writing fairly smooth. You can hear it's a fairly smooth nib. It's writing fairly wet. Reverse writing doesn't really work. It is definitely not a flex nib. It's quite stiff. You're just putting down a heck of a lot of ink there, like quite a lot of ink there. Let's do some quick writing. And this is where we start to see part of the problem with this pen. Now, obviously, you're not going to be writing this quick regularly with the pen, but there are a number of hard starts and skips with this nib. And unfortunately, that is something I have noticed occasionally with it. When I first got the pen and I inked it, I thought it may just need to be flushed. So I flushed it and I cleaned it, and I still get this. I think a lot of it is to do with flow down through the feed to the nib, because the nib is quite smooth and I actually don't mind how the nib feels on the page. But with these hard starts, it makes it, you don't necessarily want to write with it because you don't know what you're going to get. And sometimes it's in regular writing and sometimes it's sort of in faster writing if you decide to do it. It's an odd thing that you go from something that's so wet to something that skips and hard starts so easily without a visible baby's bottom on the nib or anything like that. So I think it's just a flow thing within the feed that's happening with this pen. So what are the pros and cons of this pen model? Well, I'll start with the cons. Firstly, that hard starts and the skipping with the nib is a problem. I don't like the fact that this pen should post but doesn't. Like, you've really got to jam it on to get it to sit on this metal ring here, I think it is. And you just feel like you're at that point where you're about to break the pen. It's really not great. Obviously, it is designed to be reminiscent of other pen brands. That is just what it is. That is the Chinese market. That is general fountain pen marketing. You know, like, you've got 3 pens here, all basically vaguely modeled off the same kind of pen from 3 different Chinese brands. It's just the way that they work. If you don't like it, you don't get the pen. Now, I got this because it was one of the pens that has been suggested to me to review recently, and I can see why. I think if this pen wrote really well, it would be quite a decent sort of everyday writer. For me, it just isn't fitting that category because I can't get a consistent writing experience with it. But there are a couple of things I do like. I like the price, $36, with a little bit of work on the nib or the feed, that kind of stuff. I could probably get it writing reasonably well. As I said, when it writes quite wet. It's just inconsistent. I think the piston mechanism works really, really nicely, and those ink windows make for a nice, you know, visible way of seeing how much ink is in the pen. And I like the size. I've got other pen models of this same size that I enjoy quite a lot. So there are things to enjoy, but without it being a consistent writing experience, then the point of a pen to me goes out the window. So why would I use it? So unfortunately, this is one that, as it stands, I don't think I could recommend. I think there are a lot of other pens in this size or this style of pen that do write consistently better for a similar price or much less, thinking of some of those Jinhaos, the X159, the 9019, things like that. But the Moonman, and this is a brand that I wish would do better. There's been a few pens that I've reviewed that have been okay, and there are a few pens that have been meh, and then a couple of pens that have been great. As a brand, they're just a little too inconsistent for my taste, and I find it hard to justify these pens. Just in my own experience. Everyone's experience will be different, and I hope yours is better. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support the channel, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens. enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.